mixed responses from our clients themselves. Some of them say, if you think I'm as okay as anybody else, so why should I go ahead and declare? I will not disclose my illness at all to my employer. I've been through enough experiences. The moment I say NIMHANS or a psychiatric illness, they just shut out their doors. So I will not reveal that. So there's one group that clearly says that. Another group says, no, I do realize I'm not as fast. I may tend to forget, I may tend to be slow, I may make a lot more errors. So I'd rather be upfront and tell my employer, this is my difficulty. So it's probably a gray area that, so we go by whatever is comfortable with the client and the family there. One of the other things we recently added was cognitive retraining. We did realize that a lot of cognitive deficits that also interfere with clients being able to retain jobs. So the focus areas of retraining are attention, memory, reasoning, and abstraction. And these have been found to improve work performance, especially in terms of their ability to acquire and learn skills, in terms of the adjustment to the workplace and overall functioning of clients once they get into jobs. And a minimum of 3 months training that we found is required to sustain changes in these areas. Some of the challenges we face are that the workshop at the daycare is small, caters to just a handful of clients. The financial remuneration that they get is very, very minimal. Again, the difficulty is funding is a problem for us, so we go by whatever little we can sort of manage to scrape through. Minimum is, they start with something like 1,000 rupees a month, so 2,000. Because one of the things we've found is, since our production output is not on a large scale, we're not able to negotiate with potential people who would give us orders for files. Like we have a plastic molding unit where we make plastic folders for various hospitals. But the rates that we give them are too high for them. They'd rather get cheaper files wholesale from the market and so on. But a few of them, it does take us a lot of convincing to tell them these are made by our clients, this is how it's important for them, and so on. So in that sense, we are limited by the scale of production also. Again, sustaining the post-placement follow-up of clients is something that we need to work on. And a big challenge for us is identifying new training avenues that are job relevant and financially sustaining. So there's the act of balancing the training needs and financial concerns. Because we are an NGO that again has no funding from outside, we have to be very careful about starting a new venture, how much it would cost, and what is going to be the time period within which we'd probably be able to gain back or get back our returns. And what has also we've realized is contacting employers through newspapers, ads has largely been unsuccessful. What works is a lot of personal contact with employers, explaining to them the kind of work we do and so on. Again, agencies working with other disabilities we found are not comfortable in taking clients with who've had a history of mental illness, especially the vocational rehab centers or other placement agencies. Again, the reason they cite is their staff are not really oriented to working with people with mental illness. So that is a limitation they do cite. And again, there are limited vocational training options at the center, which in turn restricts the scope of training that we can give clients. One of the things we also realized is there are lack of government schemes and benefits that clients who are ready to move on, want to start off a venture for themselves. It's like a dead end. They have to rely on their own funding. There's no government scheme that they have been able to be successfully able to tap into. And job prospects, especially self-employment, becomes impractical because of financial constraints. There are no financial support, even for an investment capital kind of thing from other institutions. And special employment exchanges, we were trying to look at any data that's available, but it's non-existent. There's a study in 2006 that looks at special employment exchanges in Andhra, and but hardly anything otherwise in terms of placements that's and especially mentally ill are left out of the ambit of care. And again, stigma, of course, is a major shadow that looms over. Employers potential employers do not seem convinced that clients are able to match up to the requirements of jobs. Standard responses, we'll get back to you, and very often that means a rejection. And employers again have their own concerns, very often misconceptions that this person may get very stressed out, the person would be very emotionally sensitive, so you can't say no, you can't be sort of assertive and with such a person as an employee. So we've had clients in the halfway home, we've tried placing in jobs, and with the client's consent, we explain about the illness, background, and so on. Very often, this is what they get back to us. We'll give it a try, and then on some reason or the other, they don't sort of sustain. We also realized placements have to be pursued more aggressively, maybe one person exclusively dedicated for this to follow up, sensitize, identify potential employers. And we also realized it's useful to maintain a database of employers, past, current, and probably potential employers. And we also realized the need for updating our own vocational training options, introducing training in a variety of trades. And one of the things we're also realizing is motivating the vocational instructors who are the first level rung of contact with clients. Sometimes they don't understand the need or the seriousness of offering vocational training for the clients. So we need to sort of get them back into the larger perspective and tell them, this is how this is going to help this client. So we have to probably motivate them, for example, to open up newer avenues of training. They need to update their own skill data sets for this. So that we realize is a very important challenge for us. Lastly, the financial support for small scale or household self-employment ventures. We do require these from various government schemes. It could be financial institutions, banks, donor agencies, but these are important. And one of the ways we also thought was to look at sheltered workshops run by user self-help groups. For a long time, we've been trying to motivate the families of the daycare center to probably, they do have a support group, but they're very unwilling to move beyond just being a support group. So, for example, having a cooperative of users or various NGOs with external financial support, at least to have the initial capital, and then have families take over this as an initiative. These were some of the things we thought we'd just present. Thank you so much.
From Schizophrenia Research Foundation, I'll be talking about work functioning in schizophrenia, and I'll be specifically talking about a study done at SCARF about employment status and its relationship with the clinical and demographic variables of schizophrenia patients. Before I get into the study, employment rates and work functioning are very poor among schizophrenia patients, and this is related to severe impairments in the cognitive functioning domains like memory, attention, planning and organizing skills in the patient, and also there's a disability in social functioning among the schizophrenia population. That is, they are unable to interact well at workplace, in poor communication, and not able to take any initiative in the employment. So, but the data suggests that the employment rate is higher among mentally ill patients in developed countries when compared to the developing countries. This may be due to the social and financial environment present here, and also our population has a compelling need to get employed and support their family financially because there's a lack of disability benefit from the state. Let us go look into the literature available, the Indian literature available on employment rates. The first study is on patients, 90 patients with first episode of schizophrenia, and they have been followed up for 10 years and found that the employment rate ranged between 63 to 73%. And also, there's another study done on 43 male patients who were in the community who were never treated, and their employment rate increased to 16% from onset to 1 year of treatment. And this is the third study. It's a study done at SCARF. It's a relationship between cognition and work functioning among patients with schizophrenia. in an urban India. And this study, I'm going to talk about this particular study only. Here they found that work functioning rate is around 67% among the schizophrenia patients. This particular study aimed at the employment status and work performance in urban patients with schizophrenia attending the SCARF outpatient department. The methods involved, the study design is a cross-sectional study and it's a study size SCARF, and we recruited around 100 patients. The study period was between 2000 and 2002. The criteria for patients to be included in the study is the DSM-4 criteria for chronic schizophrenia and those who concerned to participate in the study, and the age group between 18 to 45 years, and the patients from the residents of Chennai with a basic primary level education and patients living with a family. The assessments involved were the symptomatology was assessed using the PANSS, positive and negative syndrome scale, and the work functioning was assessed using the multidimensional scale of independent work functioning, which involved their work performance of the functioning level at work, education, and home. And as another domain, we assessed it's a social functioning using schedule for the assessment of psychiatric disability, which include their general, social, and occupational role. And apart from this, the cognitive functioning was assessed. The domains assessed were attention, memory, and executive function, that is planning and organizing skills, using the Nemans battery and few tests from the Luria-Nebraska neuropsychological battery. The sample description is as follows. Like the 100 patients were recruited, out of which only 88 patients were used for the analysis, and remaining 12 patients were remained to be housewives and students throughout the course of the illness. So out of the 88 patients, 56 were male and 32 female, and 59 of them were employed and 29 remained unemployed. The mean age of the patient was 35 years and their education was 14 years. So the 59 patients who were involved in employment, like the type of employment involved were 34 patients were in skilled or unskilled work, 14 were working as a professional like teacher, marketing, or in healthcare systems, and 7 patients hold a white-collar job, and 4 of the patients were self-employed. They were employed in the family establishments. And the nature of work they were involved is like majority of the patients, like 51 patients were involved in mainstream competitive work environment, and 4 of them were self-employed in the family establishment, and 4 other patients were employed in the sheltered employment. And the nature of work is actually, certain patients were involved in a monotonous work like proofreading, data entry, security guards, etc. And so, there are patients who were also involved in jobs which involved multitasking abilities and involved lots of social interaction like teaching and marketing business. About the clinical variables, the onset of the age at onset was 24 years, and the duration was 11 years, and the PAN scores, the positive, negative, and general psychopathology scores were given. The total PAN scores mean PAN scores were around 41, which was between mean to moderate level. And all the patients were on antipsychotic drugs, and 40% of them were on the first generation antipsychotics, and 60% of them were on the second generation. Now, on analysis, the 2 groups were compared, the employed and the unemployed patients on various domains. With regard to the symptomatology, unemployed patients had more severe symptoms when compared to the employed, and on further analysis, it revealed that the negative symptom was a strong predictor of work performance. Like between the employed and unemployed, the unemployed had a severe negative symptoms. And with regard to the social functioning, the unemployed patients were poor in social functioning, and the employed were better than that. And with regard to cognition, both the groups had deficits in the area of cognition. But the analysis revealed that only 2 elements of executive function, that is planning and organizing skills, there is only 2 elements where the unemployed group performed, the scores were higher, which indicated a poorer performance. So the predictors of poor work performance were like patients who had severe negative symptoms, they performed very poor at work, And patients who had a past history of poor work performance, that is before the onset of illness, continued to perform poor at work when compared to the patients who had a past history of good work performance. And also the patients who had a prescription of first generation antipsychotics had a disability at work when compared to the patients who had the newer drugs in the prescription. And about the social functioning, which is a major factor, the two domains like interest and information and communication domain were the strong predictors of work performance. Like patients who had a better communication skill and they had an interest and involvement to learn new things at workplace perform better at work. So cognitive deficits, the two group of patients had deficits in cognition, but still it does not predict the work performance. Despite their cognitive deficits, the patients were able to hold a job and continue in the job. There are other factors contributing to it. Like the major thing is their work environment. With regard to the work environment, the patients had supportive employers and colleagues who were very accommodative to them, and they were very supportive to them so that the patients were able to sustain in a job. And also the employers were very liberal to them, and they were allowed to use the leave benefits when compared to the normal employers. And also, patients who were involved in a productive environment, like they have a target to complete their work, the patients had difficulty in reaching the target. But still, the colleagues were very supportive to them, and they helped them to do their work in their own trend. And also, the employers were sustaining them without taking them off the job, but they were given salary only according to their work outputs. And also, all their social past abilities, their economic background were taken into account, and they were sustained in the job. So we conclude that in this particular study, the study population were from the urban background, which created better job opportunities from them. So they were able to get a job as easily. And also, all the patients were, most of the patients were undergone work rehabilitation in the staff center. So they were able to perform better at work. And the mean education was found to be 14 years, which is a high level of education. So they had a better chance of getting a job. And completing many years of academic training indicates that their information processing and their intellectual ability is good, and so that they are able to cope with their deficits at workplace. And also the economic pressure and motivational push from the family, that the compelling need for them to work and to perform adequately at work was indicative. And also the financial support from the state is not there, and so the patients are compelled to work and sustain in a job to support the family's financial situation. So we infer from the study that the social functioning is the major thing where we have to concentrate and intervene in that area, and we have to motivate the patients to take up the job because there's a compelling need to be employed. And apart from the psychoeducation to the family and client, the employers play a major role, and so we have to concentrate more with the work environment, the workforce, and to create awareness and training for them. And even though it is indicative that cognitive status is not a strong indicator, but still the deficits are there, the patients are able to cope with because of all these other work and supportive work environment and other factors. Still we have to consider that cognitive retraining is also important.